it becomes, after a while, a slippery slope where people are just having the computer tell them everything to do. Every step of their lives ends up becoming micromanaged to an extent. And the idea is that AI, through all the data that it absorbs about us, knows so much about us. Some of these people say it knows us better than we even know ourselves. There's that allows for an unprecedented degree of manipulation. And the problem is that the people producing and programming AI and ultimately controlling AI and what it can do not have our best interests at heart. And it is not a good idea to basically hand them our brains in a bag.
In this video interview, independent writer and investigative journalist Whitney Webb provides details on the hidden agenda of global authorities dedicated to ending human autonomy. She explains that AI is the current tool of choice to erode human cognitive capability and ultimately lead us to a world where we cannot do anything on our own. She mentions names like the late Henry Kissinger and his successor Eric Schmidt, who have spotlighted this possibility and warns that they're not mere predictions. She believes these plans are already in motion, and worse, that the last hope for resistance, Bitcoin, is currently being co-opted to ultimately serve this purpose. She sheds light on how the Bitcoin ETFs, CBDCs, and big banks are all related. Let's dive in as she discusses all the details.
It's only going to get more insane because they're trying to put AI in charge of the internet, and not just in charge of censoring what's on the internet, but also having AI make the lion's share of online content. So supposedly by 2025, generative AI like ChatGPT is going to produce like 96 or something % of everything you read online, which means their mainstream media journalists are going to be like completely replaced. So when you have AI both like producing and then curating, i.e. censoring, everything, then AI dominates the information environment, and whoever programs AI and stipulates like what information is okay and who isn't has like unprecedented control. And when you consider that most people today get their information from online or digital sources, that's unprecedented control of not just how the information that people like read and receive, but also, you're manipulating how people perceive reality. And that obviously translates into how people behave. And actually, Henry Kissinger and the guy that he named as his heir, which is Eric Schmidt, the former Google CEO, wrote a book on AI explicitly about that and how AI is basically going to control how we perceive reality by taking control of online content in its entirety. And that us becoming increasingly dependent on AI for everything is going to cognitively diminish people so that we won't be able to perceive reality or make sense of anything without AI doing it for us.
Whitney has explained how the elites plan to use AI to control not just what we read, but what content is available at all. She explained that the end goal is of this absolute and unprecedented control for the ruling class through manipulation of how the populace perceives reality. These claims might seem dystopian, but Whitney's evidence is hard to dispel. However, the worst is yet to come, as Whitney discusses how these entities plan to crush resistance that could rear its head via Bitcoin. Let's dive back in.
Well, I definitely think Bitcoin has the potential to be a tool for financial freedom, but I think there's major efforts well underway to co-opt that to serve the same agenda. And so I think people in the Bitcoin space that want it to be a tool for financial freedom need to get wise to those efforts to co-opt and resist. Because it's either a tool of financial freedom or it's not. If you cede enough territory and let them like completely dollarize Bitcoin and turn it into like a tool of US empire to keep the dollar afloat and keep dollar hegemony going forever and ever and ever, are saying it's a flaw in Bitcoin that you can't put dollars easily on Bitcoin and all of this. No, the whole point supposedly, right, of creating Bitcoin was to give Wall Street banks the middle finger and create something that had immutable sound monetary policy. So if you allow them to co-opt it so it's not those things anymore, what are you left with? Is it a tool of financial freedom, or is it just the promise of Bitcoin been hollowed out and replaced with Wall Street garbage? There's all sorts of things that are happening in Bitcoin right now that could be under that umbrella. But when you start to have people like BlackRock being like, you know what, we actually like Bitcoin now, that's a sign to pay attention. So I think in the Bitcoin space, you need to be very aware that there is a fight being had right now about the future of Bitcoin. And you have to decide which side you're on. Are you going to fight for Bitcoin to be a tool of financial freedom, or are you going to allow it to be co-opted by the powers that be that it was supposedly designed to resist them and be something they can't control? Are you going to give them control of it? I mean, the answer should be no to any Bitcoiner worth respecting. I think people need to get their head straight and be like, if Bitcoin is going to be a tool for financial freedom, and if I want the reasons I got into Bitcoin to still be Bitcoin in a few years, I need to think about how I can help that happen, because they're coming for it and they're going to turn it into something else unless people in the Bitcoin space start doing stuff. And that's not to say no one's doing anything, because people are, but there needs to be more awareness of this in the space, and people need to decide which camp they're in. And I think it needs to be culturally unpopular in the Bitcoin space to serve the co-opt agenda and make it a tool of Wall Street and global empire. You're either on the side of those guys or you're on the side of freedom and the public. Put your flag somewhere.
The Bitcoin community needs to take a stand now is Whitney's message today. She has shed light on the terrifying machinations of the elite for society through AI and their plans to crush the only tool for resistance, cryptocurrency, especially Bitcoin. Whitney explained that the plans to use AI are just one portion of the elite's plans to end privacy and autonomy. The other is to remove technologies like Bitcoin, and that the entry of institutions into this space is an obvious tool for doing so, since the approval of the Bitcoin spot ETF's Bitcoin has generally trended up as many believed it would, but the amount under the control of BlackRock also continues to grow. Whitney believes this is a scheme to ultimately co-opt the last hope for human autonomy post the Cyber 9/11 events being orchestrated. What do you think about Whitney's shocking revelations? To see the latest in crypto news, watch this video here.